All right, good afternoon, morning, or night, wherever you guys are today. This is Adam Walter with Humanize IT, and today I have a special guest on, Lauren Williams from PCs for People. How's it going, Lauren?
Great. Thanks for having me here today, Adam. Happy to be
Yeah,
here.
yeah. We kind of met through a peer group activity last week or a couple weeks ago, and his story kind of caught me as interesting as somebody in hardware for a long time, like getting rid of your assets kind of sucks. And knowing that there's recycle programs out there are like, okay, how does this work? Where do they go? What do they do? And so Lauren works for PCs for People, and I want him to tell a little bit of the story, like this. You guys refurbish PCs for people in need, but tell me kind of how this got started. What was the start of PCs for People? What was the ideation behind it, and how has it grown?
Yeah, well, it's a great story, Adam. In fact, PCs for People was kind of started by mistake, and you would think it would have been started by somebody in technology, but PCs for People was actually started by a social worker. Um, he was helping out a wayward youth. This was a high schooler who got sent to the social worker because he got caught hacking his high school's computer system. I mean, it's great when your grades aren't so hot and your attendance isn't really good. If you can just log in and you can improve your grades and improve your attendance. So he did that. He got caught. He got sent to the social worker. Um, the social worker's name is Andy, and Andy said to the kid, like, you seem to like computers, don't you? And the kid said, yeah, I love computers. And Andy said, well, do you think you could use some of your free time to help out a nonprofit with a database or help out a church with a website? And the kid said, yeah, I'd love to do that. That sounds great. The only problem is I don't have a computer. So Andy went to the county government where he works and he said, can we get this kid a computer? He's going to be able to help out a lot of people, do some good. And of course, they laughed at him because who has extra money to buy extra computers in a county government? And then somebody in the office said, over there, we have a closet with the old computers and the broken computers. And you know what? If he can fix one, he can have it. And sure enough, kid's a smart kid. He fixes one, starts using it, starts on the projects Andy gave him. He fixes another, and Andy quickly found another family in need that could use a computer, and another, and another. And that's how PCs for People was born in 1998.
98 was a good year. Like that's right when Dell and Gateway were going through their whole who's going to be able to ship to consumers faster. Like for those of you young kids out there, you don't remember, like you couldn't customize your PC and have it shipped to you back then. You had to pay a lot of money, and you had to either buy one at a PC shop or you had to invest a bunch of money into something. And Gateway and Dell started making them approachable modular design computers that we could order and have it shipped to our houses. I remember getting my first PC, I think it was spring of 1998 when I got my first computer, and that was like I felt like I was getting a good deal. My parents helped me buy it, $2,200 I think for a Dell XPS 333. So in 98 to have somebody who could like pick up a laptop or a computer and just like fix it and make something that's reasonably priced, that's a huge opportunity for a lot of kids back then. Today it's not as big of a deal, but back then, I mean, computers were expensive. So tell me a little bit more, like once they started getting going with these PCs, like how did it start becoming more of a like how many PCs do you do today, for instance? Like how many do you process today on an average year?
So we process over 100,000 computers a year. Last year, we collected over 6 million pounds of what we call, or other people call, electronic waste. And that's computers and other IT equipment. And by the way, all of it stays out of landfills. We refurbish as many as we can for low income households. And in an average year, we'll distribute anywhere between about 45 and 60,000 refurbished computers to low income households.
Do you need like firewalls or any like refurbishment of like higher end hardware?
So we do accept that kind of equipment. We accept all IT equipment. On the front end, we're a full service electronics recycler. What happens with that equipment? The average low income household has no need for something like that. A portion gets redistributed to nonprofit organizations. So a small amount of the equipment we distribute goes to other 501c3 nonprofits that need to stretch their IT budgets. And then once we've filled those needs, if we find we have something that still has market value and it can't be used either by a nonprofit or a low income household, we have a surplus store on eBay where we will sell it, make sure it gets reused, and bring in some revenue towards our mission.
Yeah, you know what I really like about this, like in my mind, I'm kind of inspired as to a lot of times it's really hard to talk customers, hey, you need to retire this PC, but it's still good. You know, like no, we need to keep you under warranty, or we need to keep you up to date with devices that are relevant. You know, and what I like about the narrative is like, yes, it is still a good computer, and we're going to take it to a new home for somebody who needs one. So if you can retire this PC right now, we're going to have it refurbished by PCs for People. And it's going to go to a 501c3. It's going to go to a home in need. You know, there's a better narrative there than just we're going to grab this PC and throw it away. So you might be able to, as an MSP or as an IT consultant, be able to talk people into retiring PCs where they were like, "Oh, it's still good. Let's just keep using it." Versus, "Hey, you can do a good thing while it's still good. Let's get it refurbished and get it to an entity that needs it, and you get a new computer." You know, that's a much different narrative than just, "Hey, let's throw it away." So, what kinds of things do you guys like to see the most? Like, is it laptops? Is it desktops? Wi-Fi routers? Are there specific models of items that you like to work with?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So, right now, we have had an especially strong demand for laptops. It seems to go through cycles, but laptops have had the strongest demand. We find our equipment gets redistributed to a wide variety of folks, but with back to school coming up, there's always an extra strong demand from students and those who are furthering their education, and they like to be mobile. So really, laptops is where we've had the strongest demand and they have the strongest need lately.
Like Chromebooks, or does it really matter? Like high-end laptops, mid-range laptops?
We take everything, and then most of the redistribution we do is with a Windows 11 operating system or whatever the latest and greatest Apple operating system. We do some special projects with Chromebooks, but we feel a lot of our recipients are trying to upskill for a job in an office environment. Or get their first job in an office environment. And we find having the same operating system that they will most likely have in that environment is important, which is why we try to redistribute as much as we can with Windows 11.
Yeah, I think back in my day, we started off with Apples. Apples did a lot of education, so then you would move into like college, and then your personal computer would probably have Windows on it back in my day. Remember, for you Apple fans out there, my day was 96 to 2002 when it came to the stuff. So Apple was kind of in a vacancy at that point. And so you had to learn one thing at school, then you had to learn another thing, and then it kind of standardized over the last like 20 years. Then Chromebooks came on the scene. Now all your students are really good with Google's G Suite because that's who's doing Google Classroom, and it's really good. But then they enter the workforce. So imagine being somebody who wants to, as Lauren said, upskill. Like, I need to learn Microsoft Word. I need to learn Excel. I kind of know it from Sheets and from Docs, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
And so what we want to do is we want to allow these people to have, like, a Chromebook is really cheap. Well, Lenovo Yoga is not. So if you can find one used, it's less than the price of a Chromebook. Now you can learn Word. Now you can afford this because with the educational licensing, you can do things like this. So do you help people like get their licensing, like with Microsoft Office, or does that go through you guys, or do they have to find their own licensing, or how does that work?
So we're a Microsoft authorized refurbisher. So that Windows 11 operating system we put on, that's something that we are licensing from Microsoft. We are not reusing the previous users any license, any software license, any operating system license. We blow all that away. And we freshly license Windows 11. We are not currently, we're not able to provide discounted Microsoft Office. We do put on kind of a clone of that for now.
Okay. Like, what's the clones out there now?
It's a Libra Office, I believe it's called.
Okay. I was trying to remember the name of the one from like the 2000s, 2010. There was some one from Linux that I really enjoyed before Google Suite became a big thing. Um, but yeah, the goal here, people, is to have a system where you can take something and not just throw it away, but actually makes the world better while you're at it. And at Humanize IT, we're all about that. Like my personal goal, as many of you know, is leave it better than you found it. So taking my PC over here and just throwing it back in a junk pile does not fit that. But knowing that, like, hey, I can retire this PC, I can give it to somebody, which I often do. I take my old, like, I do custom builds at home and I build my PC and then I give it to somebody, like maybe a kid in high school, who this would be like the greatest thing ever. And to me, like, it's because I have to move on. I need 4 ports for my video card. I need to have a certain amount of horsepower because of the editing I do. And so to a kid, like getting my secondhand PC, like that's a godsend. Like that's better than anything they could have found us otherwise. So utilizing a recycling program that refurbishes rather than just melts down and restores slag is a big win for us. So Lauren, you're not the owner of PCs for People. So tell us a little bit more about the owner and tell us about how you came on board and why you came on board.
Sure. So we're a nonprofit 501(c)(3), so I'm not really sure there's an owner, so to speak. But like I
Founder.
said, our founder is a social worker, and he still works as a social worker to this day. He started PCs for People, like I said, in 1998. He'd have summer interns come in and help him and other volunteers, and he ran this program, and it helped a lot of people in the county where he lives in Minnesota and where he works in Minnesota. But then one of his interns graduated college, went off, got a job at a consulting company, a big consulting company, did that work for a few years, and then he came back to the social worker and he said, "Hey, I've been out there and there are people all over that need computers. There are low income people everywhere, not just here in this county, that need computers. I really miss working here. I really miss spending my summers at PCs for People. What if we grow it? What if we make it a national nonprofit? And instead of providing hundreds of computers a year, we provide thousands or tens of thousands." So around 2008, that happened. The headquarters moved to a bigger city, to St. Paul, Minnesota, and that intern turned consultant, turned CEO of PCs for People. And since then, PCs for People has grown, and we have facilities in 12 different metro areas around the United States where we collect computers. And then we ship refurbished computers everywhere in the United States.
Yeah, I saw that on your map. Like continental United States, you guys will take PCs from, and you got a number of locations. Everybody, you'll have to go out there and check and see what the locations are because I'm not going to list them here. But even if you're not in one of those locations where you guys will go pick them up, you will actually, arrange for freight shipping to your nearest location that you can take things from, which I think is really great. It's not so much fun for my Canadian, my UK, my Australia clients or my South African clients, but everybody else, we do have a spot for this. And we're going to be putting up a page for PCs for People on our website if we haven't already done it by the time you hear about this, because we really want to support this initiative. We really want to help find ways of getting these computers to this recycling agency that we really think is important. So eventually you'll have this in our little resources menu, like recycle PCs, and then fill out the form there. You'll be done. And so what I want to see also is, Lauren, is there anything else we can learn about PCs for People? Any initiatives you guys have going on that we can support as a community? So, as an MSP, an IT consultant, are there ways that we can support your company as Species for People?
Well, the best way is getting the word out about PCs for people to your clients, to people in your network, especially in our 12 different metro areas. I'm in Chicago, so I can tell you about a couple of initiatives we have going on in Chicago where we're rebooting our retail store really soon, and our retail store is a place for where low income households, people, students, anybody who's low income can come in and shop for a computer, can shop for an internet hotspot. So a household that has no computer and no internet in the morning, they can go home and in the afternoon plug in their computer, plug in their hotspot, and be surfing the web, which is something, all of us probably who are watching this podcast take for granted because we do it all the time wherever we are. But the biggest initiative we can be helped with is funneling more computers our way.
I know one cool things that I know we're doing here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I'm assuming eventually other cities will get into this, is that we are doing a citywide wireless project, and it's meant for students. If you are a student in high school, elementary school, you get free Wi-Fi wherever you are. And this is great because now we can have students who are able to work even if their family cannot afford internet, cannot afford a hotspot. All they need is a PC. All they need is to be able to hook up their Chromebook that they use for school. Or I don't know if they're going to allow third parties on yet, but I know for certain the school-based PCs will work. And I can see a lot of students being like, "Hey, you know what? I don't have internet at home. I would love it if I could have this computer hooked up so I can do my lab work or whatever." And there being a process for that. But as we get further in society here, I imagine things getting a lot more ubiquitous when it comes to free Wi-Fi being available. And not that, I mean, from a security standpoint, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies getting on free Wi-Fi. But there are ways to secure yourself and make things good. How do you guys handle security on these PCs? Do you just leave them wide open like they came from an OEM, or do you guys say, "Hey, we'll harden these a little bit for you and help make sure that they're safe before you send them out"?
So we put on, I don't remember which security software we put on them now, but we do put security software on. Certainly Windows, I think, comes with Defender or whatever they call it now. And then in terms of internet, um, we provide one of our ways to get on the internet inexpensively is through a hotspot, which is $15 a month to the subscriber, and that's for unlimited usage. Turn it on, turn it off as needed. Pay month to month. We do have plans for less than $15 a month if you'll commit to 3, 6, 12 months. But in the other thing, I'll just step a little bit away from that question is besides security, anybody who has any issue with one of the computers they get from us, they can call us for tech support. If they get some kind of pop-up and they don't know if it's legitimate or somebody trying to hack or phish them, they can call us for that. They can
Okay.
call us if their mouse doesn't work, and we'll help them with that. They can call us if they need to know how to set up a Gmail account, and we'll help with that. It's really full service to anybody who gets a computer from us.
That's nice. So one more time, tell me about like your role at PCs for People and what you do on a daily basis.
Sure. Well, I, I thought I would be a volunteer here. When I learned about close to 5 years ago that PCs for People was going to open in Chicago, where I live, and I heard about the PCs for People model, I said, I really love that. I really love what they're doing. When they open here, I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to make some introductions because Adam, my whole career has been in computer hardware,
Mhm.
selling, leasing, buying computer hardware. I most recently worked at IBM, leasing computer hardware. When I learned PCs for People was opening here, and I planned to volunteer, I looked on LinkedIn, found out that my college roommate was connected to a PCs for People senior staff member who was in another city. He connected us. We started talking. PCs for People opened here, and I was hired. And this became my career about 4.5 years ago.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I walked into a computer store, oh man, 3 months ago when my computer's motherboard fried.
Mhm.
And I gotta admit, like I really had some nostalgia when I walked there and saw those kids working on PCs and building them and putting hardware together, making recommendations. I'm like, oh, these were the good old days. I'd love to go back to doing this full time. There's this piece of me that really misses those days. So I can see getting hooked in. Like you go and volunteer, and all of a sudden, oh man, I love this stuff. So Lauren, any parting wisdom? We're going to do a part two coming up here next week, where we talk to you a little bit more about the operations of PCs for People, about how the recycling goes, what kind of refurbishment they're doing, and like how to use them more effectively. So, Lauren, are there anything that's about the business you want to talk about before we close out here for today? Any final words?
Um, we couldn't do it without many, many, many hundreds, even thousands of partnerships. And anybody who is listening to this podcast who wants to learn more about being a partner, please reach out, and either myself or somebody in your geography will talk to you about how we can work together.
All right. Thanks, Lauren. We'll see you all next week.